The other big story at this hour, big upset in Sri Lankan polls. Mahinda Rapajaksa has conceded defeat in the presidential elections. The incumbent president was standing for a third term in office against one of his closest allies, Maithripala Sirisena. Rajapaksa has vacated the Temple Trees residence, his official residence in Colombo, early this morning. He had been in power since 2005, but it was a united opposition and anti-incumbency that defeated Rajapaksa. Interestingly, Rajapaksa faced no opposition until 2 months back. But then Sirisena left the party, his party. He was a minister in the Rajapaksa cabinet. He left Rajapaksa's party and has now managed to end his reign. Clearly, the decision to advance the elections by Rajapaksa by almost 2 years has backfired on the Sri Lankan president. Now, until 2 months back, Maithripala Sirisena was one of Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa's closest allies, as we have just told you. But then he surprised all with his announcement to run against him with the backing of a united opposition. Sirisena was one of the most powerful men in the Sri Lankan Freedom Party before he defected, along with a number of other ruling party figures. Coming from a farming background, farming family in the Sinhalese heartland, he appeals to the same demographic as the man he has now unseated. Okay, let's quickly cut across now live to T.S. Sudhir, who joins us for all the latest. Sudhir, you were in fact mentioning since morning that you saw this coming as far as Sri Lankan elections are concerned. You were there in Sri Lanka a couple of days ago and you say that you saw this coming.
Well, the writings seem to be pretty much on the wall there in Sri Lanka. In fact, a number of people who we spoke to in different parts of Sri Lanka pointed to the fact that here was a person who was letting his family run the country in a sense. Two of his brothers were the defense and economic affairs ministers. One brother was a speaker of the parliament. His son is an MP. In a sense, it was a one family rule, and that's what Maithripala Sirisena stressed throughout his election campaign, that this kind of a soft dictatorship, as he called it, has to end in Sri Lanka. And Maithripala Sirisena, who also has been stressing that the Maitri era will start if he is elected the president, some kind of a healing touch will be applied, especially in the minority areas where Tamils live in large numbers, especially in northern Sri Lanka. That is what is going to be the huge expectation from the new president of Sri Lanka once he takes over, which could happen as early as this evening. Just to bring you speed with the figures that we are getting from Sri Lanka, Sanket, is that Mahinda Rajapaksa got approximately 5.7 million votes, while Sirisena has got about 6.2 million votes. In that sense, quite a significant majority for Sirisena. In that sense, also Sri Lanka voting for change, and that is going to be a huge watershed moment for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, which had voted Rajapaksa for a second term in 2010 after he had defeated the LTTE, finished the 26-year-old civil war in Sri Lanka. This time they have decided that they're going to vote for change as someone who is not seen as a hardliner like Rajapaksa and actually move the country forward. The island nation, the economy has been doing pretty well, but in this terms of the strife that the Sinhalese and the Tamil areas have seen, they would want this to be put behind and Sirisena to really apply that healing touch.
Okay, Sudhir, do stay on with us. In fact, in just a short moment, we'll also be joined by Padma Rao, the senior journalist and expert as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. We'll try getting in a view from Padma Rao as well. But Sudhir, you know, the other point of discussion really here is that what is the way forward as far as India is concerned, or India's engagement with Sri Lanka is concerned? Can India engage in the exact same way, diplomatically, with Rajapaksa with Sirisena as they engaged with Rajapaksa? And also, what is the response going to be of Tamil parties towards Mr. Sirisena?
Okay, at the SAARC summit in Kathmandu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had of course wished President Mahinda Rajapaksa well for the re-election in January. But we are just seeing the tweet by Narendra Modi saying that he has spoken to Maithripala Sirisena and wished him well for future Indo-Sri Lankan relations, and also the fact that he could take Sri Lanka forward. So in that sense, the first step has been taken by the Indian government to engage with the new person in charge in Colombo. But yes, throughout his election campaign, the feeling that one got was that Sirisena will not really have the same approach towards India and China that Rajapaksa had, because under Rajapaksa's presidency, China China had become the largest investor in Sri Lanka. In fact, a large number of Chinese projects are coming up all over Sri Lanka, especially in the capital city of Colombo. And that is something which India has viewed with concern, because India, as a big brother and as the closest neighbor to Sri Lanka, would want a larger role in Sri Lankan affairs, in Sri Lankan matters, and having some kind of control as far as Colombo is concerned. They would really want Sirisena to kind of undo some of those developments that Rajapaksa had done. As far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, they have been holding the opinion that nothing really will change, because Sirisena was health minister under Rajapaksa till November 21st, and since he also belongs to the same Sinhalese Buddhist majority, nothing really may change as far as the Tamil minority areas are concerned. But they would still expect that Sirisena would not really have the same hardline image and would apply that healing touch.
Will be slightly reconciliatory towards the Tamil cause, which Mr. Rajapaksa perhaps was not able to do, and maybe paid the political price for the same. Padma Rao is with us. Padma Rao, how do you look at this individual, Sirisena, the challenger, the 2-month-old challenger who has been able to throw out a very, at least in terms of perception, a very, very tall leader?
Well, as a matter of fact, I did meet Mr. Sirisena just 2 days ago, and he was surrounded by swarms of supporters. He seems very popular, but he will have a tremendous challenge ahead in terms of keeping together what is a very disparate rainbow coalition. All the parties that have joined him, because you have, it's a pretty colorful spectrum. You have the Tamil Nationalist Alliance, and then you have the JVP and the JHU, who are Sinhalese nationalist parties. Then you have the Buddhist clergy party of the JHU, and then you also have the Muslim parties have also crossed over. So as you know, that there have been some pretty virulent attacks on Muslims by Buddhist monks last year. And how are the Tamil nationalists and the Sinhalese nationalists going to sit across the table and see eye to eye, for instance, over the implementation of the 13th Amendment, which the Tamils have been asking for? Then there are some, and are the JHU and the JVP going to give it to them, that easily? So these are some of the questions that face them. But I also spoke to Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe just yesterday or the day before, who is, as you know, the brains and the chief architect behind this Rainbow Coalition. He is the opposition leader, and he is expected to be Prime Minister under Sirisena as President. And he did say that, the goal is not just to topple Rajapaksa, because I asked him, I said, the only common goal between all these disparate parties seems to be to topple Mr. Rajapaksa. But he said, no, it was essentially to restore multi-party democracy, because as the other speaker was saying, the Rajapaksa regime has seemed to have consolidated most powers within itself and, kept it all within the family and almost became a family firm. That is the allegation in Sri Lanka. So I think what the essential message here is that Sri Lanka, everyone who voted for Mr. Sirisena, is keen to build a new political culture. And Mr. Wickremesinghe also told me that, now that, as I said, there are, disparate issues there. The Tamils say they want the army out of the north and east completely. Mr. Sirisena himself said 2 days ago that there's no question of the forces being withdrawn from the former war zones. So these are some of the issues that he will be facing. But again, when I confronted both Mr. Sirisena and Mr. Wickremesinghe with this question as to whether this coalition is perhaps doomed to split within 6 months over such explosive issues, Mr. Wickremesinghe said that, look, we will have parliamentary polls next, and hopefully that will ensure stability if one single party achieves a major majority, a simple majority in parliament. So they are confronted with many issues, but right now, sitting here in Colombo, there's jubilation all around. And most of Mr. Sirisena's supporters, I would say the entire country, is being very magnanimous about one thing, that they acknowledge that Mr. Mahinda Rapajaksa was the first president in the history of Sri Lanka, in fact in the history of the civil war, which lasted 26 years, to have actually brought it to an end. So that is something that one has to credit Mr. Rajapaksa with.
Absolutely. Padma Rao, would request you to please stay on with us. We have the MP of the Tamil National Alliance, Mr. Suresh Premachandran, I'm being told, is now with us. Mr. Premachandran, if you can hear me, what is your reaction to the developments that have taken place in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, people want a change. I think almost, Maithripala Sirisena, he seems to be the victorious man. And the entire northern eastern provinces, maybe totally, they voted for Maithripala Sirisena. Not only that, even from the south, majority of the population wants Maithripala Sirisena as their president. So definitely, this may be against a family rule. This may be, they want to build up democracy, maybe in the India country, and of course, against nepotism and all sort of things. But as a Tamil member of parliament from Jaffna, the main question is whether this change of government, change of regime will bring democracy to the northeast provinces.
Absolutely.
Because the northern
Absolutely, Mr. Premachandan, this was exactly my question to you. Mr. Premachandan, this was almost about to be my follow-up question to you. Will this actually make a difference on the ground?
No, not at all. As far as the Tamils are concerned, in the northern province alone, we are having 150,000 army, whereas only 1 million population, and more than 200,000 people has to be resettled. Those lands were taken over by the army. So as far as those things are there, you can't think about democracy in the northern province as well as in the eastern province. So to us, as far as the Tamils are concerned, this change of regime is not going to resolve their problem as such. Because one thing is very clear, Maithripala Sirisena said in his last final press meet, he said, I will not withdraw the army from the north. So that is the mindset of the new president also. And also they are going to go for the parliament election maybe in a 3-4 months time. So again, they want to get the singular votes. So they will not talk about Tamil problems or, resettlement or the withdrawal of the army. Even the Tamil National Alliance, I don't think they can take up this matter with those people immediately, because they will say simply, look, we have to go for the next election and we will wait for some time. And this will be the attitude of the government. So as far as the Tamils are concerned, there is no change.
Mr. Suresh Premachandran, thanks very much for joining us.